everybody, it is me, Grace, and today I'm going to be doing a really fun princess performer tips video for you guys. I know I've been putting out a lot of vlogs for me doing my weekend job, my princess performing job. I've been hired at 2 companies at this point, and I've done this for over a year as a nice little side job and something that I feel really passionate, and it's a really rewarding thing for me to do. And I've definitely learned a lot along the way that I want to share with you guys, because it can be really intimidating to walk into your first party as a princess and try and you know, make magic for these kids. So today I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to be a great performer as a party entertainer, a party princess. I'm sure you guys have a lot of tips for me too, so make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. Also leave me any questions that you might have about being a party princess. I would love to do a Q&A on like training for party princesses, or just what it's like to be a performer in these situations. So definitely leave me any questions that you have down below. So my first tip is know your character. So, you know, this goes without saying, but I just want to kind of give you guys an idea of what I mean by this. So obviously you're going to watch the movie, if there is a movie based off of your character, or you're going to read the story, or whatever you're going to do. But I think something that was really helpful for me when I first started out was creating some like phrases or stories for me to say that I had in my back pocket and prepared to kind of fill silence and kind of add like a nice little storyline in there when I'm talking to the kids. You never know what kind of party you're gonna get. You could get a party that you walk in there and it's hard for you to get a word in because the kids are so excited and there's so much going on. Or you could get a party where you walk in and they're all just staring at you and there's tons of people waiting to see what you're going to say and what you're going to do. So being able to have those little phrases. So as an example, if I am playing Ariel from The Little Mermaid, I might talk about how my father once turned Prince Eric into a merman for the day so he could come visit Atlantica and watch one of our concerts under the sea. And then I might describe Atlantica as like a glittering castle under in the ocean, and all the beautiful mermaids of different mermaid tails, colors, and what is your favorite color? This is, if your favorite color is pink, then you're gonna have a beautiful mermaid tail that's pink, like my sister Alana. Coming up with some sort of story and different ways that you can elaborate it, and you might just get a little phrase in there for certain things. So if I'm playing Princess Anna from Frozen, so you can say, would you like a warm hug? Olaf loves warm hugs. You know, just those little phrases are important to add in there and are a lot easier to get in during your performance. But having those like a little bit longer stories, like 3 to 4 sentences is what I mean by longer. Kids have short attention spans. Is important as well. If I'm playing Snow White, I might talk about how one day the dwarfs took me to their diamond mine and I got to see rubies and diamonds and learn what they were doing and create a beautiful necklace for one of my forest friends or the prince's mother or something with the diamonds. And obviously these are things that are just coming to my head now, so I would kind of plan them out more and say them in my voice and with my mannerisms and everything like that. But I think this is a really helpful thing to do, to, on top of knowing your characters, to really have those stories in your back pocket to volunteer for them, and it really makes your performance come to life. And the adults appreciate this so much. If these references go over the kids' head, if they've seen the movie but they don't remember the name of they don't remember Flounder, or they don't remember certain things, the adults are going to remember, and they're going to be like, wow, she really knows this character and she's not just some random person in a costume. This also goes though for characters that don't have any movies or stories, that are completely made up and original to your company, which all characters are original to most companies. A lot of companies that I worked for are doing classic fairy tale characters that have been known from like Grimm's Brothers stories and things like that, like Cinderella. But there's some characters like that your company might make up, or you might make up if it's your company, like the unicorn princess, or you know, if you're an elf, you're one of Santa's elves. You want to come up with like a background for your character, that your character has a specific voice, specific movements, and stories that you can tell to make that character come to life and seem real. The goal is to make the character seem real. A lot of the kids believe that you are real. And so you want that to come across, and even the kids who don't believe that, it'll be fun for them to see. My next tip is about the party schedule. So parties can be crazy. You walk in there, you never know what you're gonna get, like I was saying earlier. So having a schedule in mind and knowing what you're gonna do for each part, what you're gonna do when you walk in, is really helpful and gives you some peace of mind in going to such an unknown situation and going into sometimes chaos. So if you know that when you walk in, the first thing you're gonna do is find the birthday child and give them a big hug, and then you're going to read stories first. A great thing to do is pretend at home that you are at that party, just helping to remember everything that you want to include by actually physically going through it instead of just making a mental checklist in your mind. My next tip is, if you can, try and contact the parent or the head of the party, whoever hired you, ahead of time. If you can text them, that's really great. For many of us, we don't own the company, we're just a performer in the company, and some companies allow you to do this, some companies don't, some companies require you to do this. At my last company in Kansas City, it was required that we text the parent the day before, or the party planner. In the company that I'm in now in Arizona, we are not allowed to do that. We don't get their contact information. That is all handled by the owner. So it's really helpful if you can get that contact information, because this is your chance to really, you know, get specific parking instructions, or, you know, make any special requests, or answer any questions the parent has, you know, and allow them to directly talk to their performer. Something I would always tell parents was, if they were having more of a conversation with me, two things I liked to kind of work in there in my messages in a very polite and kind way was, you know, just make sure to play along, call me by my character's name. So I would say, if I was Belle that day, call me Belle. And some children truly believe that you are the character that walked straight out of the storybook. So we want to keep that magic alive for the kids. So I would tell them to play along, because sometimes they just don't know that they need to do that. So I would say that. I would also say, like, oh, it's great if we have like cake right before I'm going to leave. So this is a great way to like make the child not so sad that you're leaving, because they're getting cake now and it's just a good time to leave. And I also kind of suggest that they don't do cake while I'm there, because then they can get it all over the dress and stuff like that. Obviously I word this in a very concise and polite way when I'm texting a parent or a party planner. I always had like an after text that I would literally just copy and paste when I was done with a party, that would, you know, thank them for having me at the party, that would ask for a review for my company, and that would ask for photos. I love getting photos from parents. I have like a little princess Instagram, as many of you might have seen before, and so having those pictures is really special for me to see. And I always cover the child's face with like a heart or something if I post it anywhere. But that's your best chance to get pictures, is if you can text the parent afterwards. Otherwise, they're just not going to remember to send you all the millions of pictures that they're going to get to keep forever and you'll never see. So yeah, I really recommend, if you can, to get that contact information. My next tip is about mannerisms. I know I touched on this a little bit earlier with knowing your character, but really having those mannerisms is going to set your performance apart as an actor. So really pick like 2 to 3 movements that, you know, fit your character, that you see. Maybe if your character is in the Disney parks and you see them doing a certain movement, just have those gestures in mind and practice doing them as you're talking. you really want your voice, your movements, and your facial expressions to be as animated as possible. You want to make this character larger than life. This is a cartoon character or a fairy tale character that you're playing for these kids. So having these nice movements and an animated voice and over-the-top facial expressions, while still, you know, not trying to scare the kids with crazy facial expressions, but just, you know, really being animated and excited and enthusiastic. So if I was playing Belle, something I noticed her doing in the parks a lot is going like this and putting her hand on her heart and putting her hands like down in front of her and folded here or behind her back. And there's general princess movements that you might do with your hands. If I'm Aurora, I might even go like this sometimes, like, oh, I just love getting a good night's sleep, my dears. And Snow White is more, and Anna and Rapunzel as well, have those more bubbly movements that you might want to play around with. And so having those movements in there is something that the parents are going to notice, and it's going to make you seem more real and more of a princess to the kids. And don't forget about your facial expressions. There might be specific facial expressions that you want to kind of come back to, and that's going to make that character seem really individual and unique. So like Rapunzel might do this a lot, because that's something that kind of you see her do in the movie and that she does in the parks a lot. You know, so those types of repeated movements and facial expressions, and things with your voice as well, things that you might say, greetings that you might have. Like for Belle, I might always say bonjour. Aurora, I might say hello my dears. She's always calling her fairies dears, etc. So you want to really pick those repeated phrases, repeated movements, repeated facial expressions, and repeated like voice inflections, and really just make that character seem unique. Now I have some tips for working with kids. As some of you might have known, I worked at a preschool for 4 years, and so I've worked with kids of all ages. You know, before then I did babysitting, and now I've had experience working with kids through this form, through being a princess at their birthday party. And so I have several tips for working with kids, and this is such a huge part of the job. If you're an amazing performer, if you're an amazing actor, but you aren't very good with working at kids, this is going to be a really tough job for you. So for really young kids, like toddlers, also even if the kid is older and can talk to you, usually there's some really young kids there, like their little brother or their little sister, and some babies. So for interacting with babies and young kids, you want to do peekaboo. Peekaboo is a fan favorite with most of the young kids I have met. It's very rare that I do peekaboo and they don't get excited. So you want to do some peekaboo, maybe just some little funny faces if your character fits it. Let's say you're playing Anna or Rapunzel or Alice or something, and you're doing some funny faces for them. They will love that. And this is something they'll be used to because their parents are doing peekaboo all the time with them. So do peekaboo, and then when you're actually talking to them, you can point to specific things like on their clothes or that you see around, and just say what they are. It's very simple. So I might say, oh, do you see my sparkly clear necklace? And you have a green shirt with some brown stripes. Oh, and you have a wonderful little horse on your pants. It's a white horse. What does the horse say? Neigh. You know, like you want to really, this is how you talk to a kid that young. These are things that you can point to and you can say what they are. It helps the kid learn as well. This is a great tip for parents too, to just learn, you know, to observe things around you and say what they are so that they can help. It helps them learn language, and it just is really engaging for them. And it's a really easy way to talk to them that they will feel comfortable with. So this is definitely something that I recommend for young kids. For older kids like to talk more, so maybe include some section in your activities where you get to do a little question game. and you have like some sort of prop. So if I'm Belle, I might have a little rose or something, and I'm like, oh, I'll pass it around and we can all talk about our favorite things. So what's everyone's favorite color? And then you pass it around and you can say your favorite color as the character. So I would say yellow, and they can all say that, or they can ask you questions, and just give them that opportunity to talk with you if they want to. You know, doing this does introduce, like, they might have some weird questions, and that is kind of a risk that you might be dealing with weird questions. But if that's the case, you can just move on to the next activity and kind of read the room constantly. You constantly have to read the room as a princess or as a party character. So yeah, give them that opportunity to talk with you more and try to get to know them more. So ask them about what activities that they like to do outside of school, or ask them if they have any dreams. I'm sure they will love to talk to you about what they're doing with their lives, and you can always relate it back to your story, but try to allow the kid to talk about themselves too. For all kids, I recommend getting a pop-up book. This is such a game changer for children's engagement during story time. Pop-up books are really cool, and there's several really awesome ones on Amazon that you can get for like 20 bucks that you can have with you forever. And I recommend this for performers, I recommend this for party owners, and I just recommend it for anyone who's dealing with kids. This is my princess pop-up book, and so it's just like a super cool book. And it doesn't even have to be a pop-up book. It could just be like a really cool book with like insanely beautiful artwork, or a cool book where you can press a button and it makes a noise and the kids can all press that button. But yeah, and make sure it still has a story on it. So these ones still have like pretty long stories. So, you know, that's really nice. And you want to make sure that you are really interactive during story time. So point to things that you see in the artwork and say, does anyone remember what his name is? And this is Grumpy here. So you can say, do you remember different things about my story? And this is something you can do with a simple, you know, book that doesn't have as much artwork. You can just ask the kids more questions to make it more interactive. But I do recommend getting the pop-up book because it is really engaging, and the kids get really excited and they get quiet and they will listen to you with these types of books. If you feel comfortable, you can let them pull these different things, but sometimes they might break it. But I always say bippity boppity boo. This is a fun page and like a favorite for them a lot of times. Yeah, it has different stories. Over here we have Mulan and Cinderella's story. Mulan is up here. Yeah, I love these pop-up books. They're amazing. I also have one for Frozen. It's by the same author. This one I don't think is quite as cool as the other one, but I still love it. So yeah, I will get more of these someday. I want to get one for Alice and one for Peter Pan too. But yeah, they love those books. I really recommend them for all ages. They'll get really, really excited about that. Another tip for working with kids is people love to walk with their characters. So if you think about it, even at the parks, at the Disney parks, nothing is more cool than if you literally got to hold Snow White's hand and just walk through the park together and talk together and look around you and just walk around with them. People love that so much. So try to incorporate that into your party if you can. Do like a princess parade, or just like something where you're walking around with them. Maybe ask them for a tour of their castle, so a little tour of their house, and they can like walk with you and show you different things. That's just something that is really fun for like photo ops. The parents can get some nice like candid photos of their child walking with a princess. It builds some trust because the kid can hold your hand and just kind of lead you around, or you can lead them around. And overall, just get them moving if you can. Do some sort of dance or something to get them moving so that they're not like sitting for story time the whole time, or sitting for you singing your song. You want to get them moving, dancing, something, but walking with the character is always fun. Next, we're going to talk about some game ideas, and if you guys don't know, I don't really like games. I don't like to play games at my parties. I will play games if I have to, and I usually do have to at some point. But I like to avoid it at all costs. But I am going to give you guys some game ideas that I find work best for me when I do have to play games, and how to even avoid playing games altogether as a princess. Okay, if you want to. Some people might love games, so this is more of a personal preference, but yeah. So some of the games that I really like are games that get the kids moving, but games that are not a competition. If you have a game where some sort of some kid is out if they do this, or some kid wins over the other kid, it just creates an environment that might pose some conflict that's difficult to deal with when you're trying to play a very kind and gentle character. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of get control of the room as a princess using like positive praise, or just different, you can definitely be like, everyone use your listening ears, and there's like very gentle ways that you can get control of the room while still maintaining your character. But you want to avoid getting the kids in trouble with you if you can, because you're a princess, you're not their babysitter, so if you're creating that environment where the kids are fighting over something or it's a competition, I just don't like to deal with that. I think it can create some problems that I just don't want to deal with. Not that those games are bad in other situations, but when you're a party princess, I just personally prefer to avoid those games. Some of those games that would be great alternatives to competition games are like charades, or hide and go seek, or freeze dance, but you don't get anyone out, you just do freeze dance. Or Princess Says, it's just like Simon Says. These are games that get the kids moving, but that aren't really like a competition between them. But if you want to avoid games altogether like me, I would just plan activities that you're gonna do that fill up that time instead. Some of those activities might be face painting or makeovers. Makeovers is a great one. Or balloon twisting is something that this new company that I got hired at does. Those types of things take a long time. They kind of give you individual time with the kids. If you're face painting or if you're doing a makeover, you're having that one-on-one time with the kid. It gives you something to do. And if all the kids are really shy, this is a great thing to do, because it's giving you something to do and gives them more time to warm up and gives you individual time with them. And it takes a bit of time, so if you blow through your story and your song and your princess coronation and your affirmations and all these other regular planned activities in 30 minutes, and then you have 30 more minutes where you don't know what to do, it can easily take 30 minutes to paint faces of all the kids there. And this can be a struggle on the opposite side of the coin, where maybe you don't have time to paint all the kids' faces in your allotted amount of time, because you have to get through all of them that want it. So keep that in mind too, but I would rather run out of time personally than be standing there with nothing to do anymore and not have a direction to go and just feel really awkward. Another thing you could do is like teach them a dance, or like teach them a song. If you want to teach them the song that you sing, where you sing a lyric and then they sing it back to you, and they might not participate in that. They're more likely to participate in dancing than singing. But if they're really outgoing and you read the room and that's an activity that you think they would do, then great. Or maybe do some sort of craft. Bring like a craft that you guys can do together, where you like make a crown and you put little sticker jewels on it. You know what I mean? Like things like this, where you're planning activities where it's clear what you're gonna do and it's gonna take some time, I find to be better than games. Like I said, please give me any questions that you might have in the comments down below. I'd love to do a Q&A on this. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every single week here on this channel all about Disney and travel and lifestyle. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye!